Well, turning now to some of your thoughts on our big story from Friday. We finally got our first look at the framework for how Oregon lawmakers plan to fund transportation. We spent a lot of time getting into the nitty-gritty details of the proposal, but some of the big takeaways: a 20-cent per gallon jump in the gas tax over the span of 6 years, a $66 increase in registration fees, a $90 increase in vehicle title fees, and a new system use fee, which would be a 1% fee the state would collect when you buy a vehicle based on how much it costs, and plans to phase in a pay-per-mile plan starting with electric vehicles as early as next year. But remember, this is just a framework. Nothing is set in stone. But this is the starting point lawmakers will use as haggling continues this session. You can catch our full segment from Friday on the KGW YouTube channel. But the vast majority of you who were watching felt like a viewer named Dawn, who wrote, "Wow, they managed to hit more buttons than I knew existed. Just what is needed when we're being screwed every other way by everybody else. No wonder people are moving across the river where there's a sales tax, no income tax, and no use fees, or all of the other taxes that Oregon seems to be able to dream up."
Why aren't we actually taxing the people that are buying the electric cars? That's the reason that we're not, having the gas tax cover things.
Okay, so we get that sentiment a lot, so let's explain. Electric vehicle owners would argue they are paying their fair share and making up for lost gas taxes because they pay a lot more in registration fees, more than double, in fact. And they can lower that registration cost currently if they enroll in the voluntary pay-per-mile program. But the framework released last week would make it mandatory depending on what you drive. Starting next year, EV drivers would either pay by the mile or pay a flat annual fee, and they'd no longer be charged the higher registration fees. Over the next few years, newly purchased EVs and plug-in hybrids would be included. And by 2029, gas-powered cars that are model year 2030 and beyond that get more than 30 miles to the gallon would also pay the fee. No word yet on what the pay-per-mile charge or flat annual fee would be. Viewer Jessica is not a fan, writing, "I'm upset with the pay-per-mile tax being proposed. Those of us in rural communities have to travel a lot further for our purchases on a regular basis, and public transportation is limited. This just doesn't feel fair. I'm just flabbergasted at the thoughtless ideas coming out of the legislature." And we get this one a lot too. DP writing to us, "You don't have to look hard to see that a significant number of vehicles on the road have expired license plates. I wonder why ODOT isn't looking at a crackdown to raise revenue." Well, that's because ODOT cannot crack down on expired registration. While they issue it, they do not enforce it. That's up to local transportation and law enforcement agencies. So here in Portland, that would be PBOT and the Police Bureau. So a crackdown on expired tabs would not offer a revenue stream for ODOT. We did get one email, though, from a viewer who supports the framework for transportation. Linda wrote to us saying, "I know this seems to be a lot of money, but I get really tired of people wanting the moon but aren't willing to pony up to pay for it. Our roads and bridges are in bad need of maintenance and repair. How are we going to pay for it? It has to come out of our pockets. It isn't going to get any better if we don't do anything about the infrastructure."